This is Pitch Please, the show where people who play games pitch ideas to people who make them. This week...
Can you put for this episode, Pitch Please, with Matt Damon?
Oh, we're back on the celebs again. Shit.
Welcome to Pitch Please! My name's Alex. I'm joined by developer Chris from Foggybox.
Hi.
Say hello!
It's the air raid siren.
I said hi, but you couldn't hear over the air raid siren.
Developer James
What?
from Catastrophic Overload.
Help.
I feel like I heard a bang after that. I feel like he whacked his knee as he did the little flyby.
Thomas, the powerful tower of ideas.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hey, what
Zooming
up?
by.
That's it. I'm gone.
How's it
Can't
going?
catch up.
So,
Get running.
this
It's
is-
energy time. It's the energy Pitch Please power
We've all got
hour.
energy today.
Oh boy, I'm exhausted. See ya.
All right, look, this is the show where people who play games pitch ideas to people who make them. Not us. Not us always, Tom. Not anymore. We're taking on listener ideas recently
Yeah.
because we've dried up.
Oh my god.
And some of them are good. But look, if you've not listened to this before, the way this whole thing works is an idea for a game is going to be pitched either by me or Tom, not in this case, or a listener, which will, in this case.
That is the case, yeah.
And then we're going to chat and try and figure out how we can make it work, throw in our own ideas,
Yeah.
make a big game soup, a big game sandwich.
Listen, if you think that we're completely out of
A game
ideas
cake.
and we are essentially just voice boxes for the audience, I just want to say I really love these pitches we've been getting in.
You are
The
correct.
interaction has been wonderful. And I love seeing these hot, spicy, fresh, juicy ideas coming in.
That juicy soup.
He sounds
That's
sincere,
self-stew
but he's
cooking.
shaking his head and doing the wanking motion.
I love the audience. Do I sound sincere? Because I don't look it. No, well, we've had quite a few pitches sent in to pitchpleasepod@yogscast.com, which is where you can send all of your
Ooh.
game ideas. If you have a dream child that you wish to be turned into
A
a game,
stonker.
theoretically in a podcast, then yeah, pitchpleasepod@yogscast.com. Send your ideas there. We've had an email from Braden, inspired
Braden.
by Katana 360, the last episode we did.
That was quick.
Yeah, Speedy Boy. Now, Katana 360, for context, if you haven't listened to that episode, was a simultaneous turn-based action strategy game.
Forgotten.
In that you control samurais or ninjas, and you queue up their turns at the same time, and then you basically press the play button, and everyone goes at the same time. Right? That was the basic gist
Yes.
of Katana 360.
Glad someone remembers.
And I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. I'm really, really happy with it. Can't wait to play it. Because you guys,
Yeah, it's being made by
yeah,
James,
Chris, you're on it, right?
Yeah. Add it to the list.
Yeah, good, great.
VR? Is it VR?
Is it in VR? Could it be?
Can be.
Should be. Won't it? Shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be.
No, not a lot of things should be.
I don't.
No. Anyway, Braden, he says, "Hey guys, love the pod and got a little inspired by the pre-planning stuff in Katana 360. Essentially, the idea of pre-planning maneuvers made me think of the way NASA interacts with the rovers on Mars. Even at its closest, it takes a signal of 4 to 5 minutes to travel from Earth to Mars, and then the same time for the return signal to show people on Earth the result of a maneuver. And it got me thinking, some sort of Mars Rover combat with the delay as a feature could be quite cool. And there is, I will say, a lot more to this to this pitch, but delayed combat in a lag sense, I suppose. Will it feel too much like lag?
As a pitch, the idea that you are making lag the mechanic sounds hilarious. Like it could, like if it was done well, it could be really funny.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say my favorite catchphrase, which this game already exists, until Tom said combat. Because there is a game where you program a Mars rover, similar to like the new Yogscast announcement, Bots Are Stupid, Alex. Little plug for you there, son.
You should watch the trailer for that, because I edited it.
Yeah. And you can't, unfortunately, you can't leave dislikes anymore.
Okay.
Not for the content, for the trailer.
You said it now.
Yes.
Just digging.
And it was I think it was an itch.io game. It might have been for a game jam that I remember playing it. And it was really fun. You had to program all that in and then you let it run and you do that.
See, I thought you were talking about Mars Rover, the kind of like Death Stranding on Mars thing. Mars Rover Tactics game.
I've never even heard of it.
Where you have to like...
I think you're lying.
You recommended it to me, Chris. It's in development.
You mean Mars First Logistics?
That's the one, yeah.
Mars Rover Tactics. God, he really
come on, it's
fix his SEO.
Ballpark.
No, that is a real time like besiege, like transport game. That's not
right. Okay.
That, but no, the one I played was a game jam, and it had a bit. We had to obviously you program in how far you want to move. You want to move for 2 seconds, then rotate front wheels by 70 degrees and move for this amount of seconds, and then yada yada. And you have to get to a goal, and you have to navigate the environment. But yeah, in terms of combat, I mean, yeah, are you a solo rover? Is it a fleet? Are you part of a colony? Is there?
Are you a Gundam? Because that would be cool.
Yeah, what is there?
I believe you are a solo vehicle in this sense. But there is
a lonely boy.
Yeah, there's different sort of game modes that have been described as teams of 4 to 8 going to head to head. But the vision that is described for the duration of this pitch will be a 1v1.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, you are a solo vehicle, a solo rover against either an AI, I presume. Then again, an AI. If you play this game against AI, you're always going to feel like they're cheating, right? Because it's never going to be like they are actively sending out commands that are delayed by. I mean, the initial description was 4 to 5 minutes, but it does say here, I don't think the delay should be that long, but I have an idea for how to present the game such that it should be relatively fun and will actually dynamically shift over the course of a match from something a bit like an RTS to eventually finishing as a real-time combined arms vehicle combat game. So, yeah, the delay isn't 4 to 5 minutes, but if you're going against a robot and they turn and shoot you with perfect precision, there's no way you are going to look at that and say like, yeah, they programmed that. They are just good at the game. They programmed that 30 seconds in advance. It just feels like they're correct and they're doing it actively. I don't know.
It's making me think of, has anyone seen The Expanse?
Yeah. So quite a lot of it.
Great.
What I really like about some of the scenes in The Expanse, especially in like some of the later seasons, is when there's space combat going on and you'll have like the war room of people back on Earth or wherever their planet is, and things will be happening, and they'll be like, "Oh, this ship just got destroyed by a gigantic ship an enemy ship out of nowhere. But this was 20 minutes ago, and now we have to make a call, figure out what to do, but we're not going to be able to do it. Like that won't happen until another 20 minutes time because of the signal. So it's like no matter how good their technology is, they're still hampered by this, and I feel like having to react. Like if you were fighting something on the surface that can react in real time, but your instructions have delay to them, that could be quite an interesting direction for it.
I guess what's interesting about that is that the people in space have agency over themselves, right? So you're sending them commands, but they're doing other stuff in those 20 minutes. Is in this game that we're describing, does the bot just, or the tank or whatever it is, the rover, just sit still for that whole time? Or like while it waits for commands, or has it got a person in it? Is there like you're in your HQ and there's an astronaut in the rover making like almost like it's like delayed lemmings. You like get a snapshot back and you'll be like, what are you going to do now? Oh, I decided to go into this crater. It's like, why did you do that?
I think they're only going to be sat there if you're not continuously issuing commands to them, right? I think anytime you issue a command, you then have to, I guess, continuously follow it up, but you're on the presumption that the previous command went through correctly, right? I don't know how you would actively be able to perceive this game in a way, because like for example, you say, "Oh, I want you to go over this hill and then shoot down at where the target, I guess, will be." 30 seconds later, that will happen. But then you've got to say, like, "Oh, and after you've done that command, back up and defend against the shots that are incoming," presuming that attack went well, presuming the thing was in the correct place. And only 30 seconds in the future, do you know the command that you put in 30 seconds ago, knowing that in between that time, you've also given them another million different commands. And you have to remember all of them as they happen. And it's like, fuck, how do you present that so that it's legible beyond just saying,
you'd have a
just remember
list.
What you do?
You'd have like a stack list on like one of the sides that just like they slot in an order. And I think once they're sent, I think what you should do is you stack your list up, and then before you even like, you should have a send button, and then but you can reorder them until that point. And once it's sent, you see them get sent off, and then you can't obviously reorder them because they've been sent. But I think that's how you do it, is have like a reorderable stack of commands, and then you go.
So at
okay,
the side
send.
of the screen, it's almost like a Dance Dance Revolution list. So from the point from where you are, Earth, the commands are going up, and then you can see the point where it hits Mars, where it's received. So you can see your list of stuff being hit bit by bit by bit. So is it like Mars DDR? DD Mars.
Rover Revolution.
Dual Destruction Rover.
I love the idea that you'll get your. I don't know if it would make for a good game, but like, you know how you get the like spotty images back from, you know, when they do, you know, send a telescope up into space or whatever, and you get the image back and it's really grainy and kind of like can kind of see what's going on.
Really lean into that kind of distance. So it's not just it's not just like the lag, it's the connection.
It's the connection itself, yeah. And you could maybe see like the tracks of where they've been, and you've got to kind of decipher the image, and you might get like an audio recording back as well, or you know, you could get a garbled message back, and it's like, oh, we've got to decipher what it means. In terms of combat, though, Matt Damon's there. I've got a potato.
Oh my! It's like he's in the room. Oh my God. I can't believe you got Matt Damon. Can you put for this episode, Pitch Please with Matt Damon?
Oh, we're back on the celebs again. Shit. Yeah, I don't know. Again, how you do it with combat, I guess you'd wait for, I don't know, X number of seconds, and then it would be like, oh, I'm dead. You know, that's maybe a bit shit, but like, I don't know.
I died 30 seconds ago.
I really feel like we need to get off the idea of, or like the interpretation of combat in a real time form. Like I think, like what you were talking about before, James, like saying, like having a character or issuing commands to something that has agency, and you are essentially like the top line guy, like you're doing all the macro level stuff. And so maybe those commands aren't as in depth or aren't as specific as, okay, move here and shoot. Maybe they're like on a bigger scale than that.
I would say, taking from what James said, is like I would have a pool of fixed little commands. Say, like, imagine at the bottom of your screen you have an inventory, but that inventory is just command blocks you can drag in, and as you pick one, you drag it over to your list, and you can just, another one will spawn where you left it. But you could have it where it's like move 20 meters 208, like at a heading 280, and then you say take a picture, and that's the picture you'll receive when you get it back. And you could then say, you know, I want you to then move 30 meters on a 90-degree heading, and then take another picture. And the way I'm imagining it in my head so far, and I don't know if we've actually discussed what we think it is, but it's kind of like a one-on-one, like manhunt kind of thing. Like you spot them in the distance, and you're like, have they spotted me? Can I get over to them?
Yeah.
But maybe you have different, like maybe your rover is equipped with a long-range weapon, but you have to charge it, then shoot it, right? So you have to issue those commands separately. But the other rover has a short-range weapon that can just be shot. So he might move out the way. He is called Boris.
Well,
it might move out of the way. And I feel like that is it's kind of like it's a very slow, like it could feel intense as you spot it in the distance.
Yeah.
Slow moving thing. But then you could do what James said was like, okay, let me get an audio recording, and then it plays an audio recording and says,
"Oh, good, an audio recording on Mars." You'd full of juicy goodness.
You'd get like, but maybe there's like, you can hear rover motors 100 meters to your 60 degrees,
way off to the left.
Oh my god! Right. So this is basically a submarine battle on the surface of Mars, right?
Yes.
And you're trying to do all that stuff. That's really cool. But the other thing is, you could have other tasks that you have to do while you're there. It could be two competing countries for trying to like either get a resource
like
that's on Mars or claim
Yeah.
territory. I bet that probably exists. But then you can have. I love the manhunt aspect. Let's do that.
I'll read a little bit more of this pitch because I think it's dipping into some of the things you guys are thinking about. So the basic concept will be that a match, maybe lasting 20 to 30 minutes, will involve players controlling combat rovers on a planet from a mothership, which is on rapid approach to said planet to claim it. At the start of the match, you're on the mothership, by the way. At the start of the match, the ships will be so far from the planet, there's maybe a 30-second, I don't know what's good for gameplay delay, which steadily decreases as the game progresses, until a final phase where the ships actually reach the battlefield and the fight reaches a climax. Perhaps the game is won by whichever player can land their ship at a designated landing zone first, with most of the land combat centering around both teams fighting for control of the LZ and build defenses around it. So the way I imagine it would play is a little bit like a MOBA, okay, where the motherships have fired ahead of them a contingent of autonomous weak drones, 100 per team maybe, to try and claim control of the battlefield. These would be AI. Additionally, there's complex player-controlled rovers, which each player gets to maneuver around the battlefield, which can place defenses and turrets and has its own weaponry. Okay, for the early stages of the battle, players can control this drone like it's an RTS, right-clicking a destination and giving a command like place turret here, move another 100 meters northeast, place repair station for bots, knowing that the delay goes both ways, and the game would theoretically need to simulate the actions occurring 15 seconds after the player orders them. Oh my god. So it's I think in that version of it, it is RTS, command and conquer, base building, army construction before sending out waves of enemies into the enemy constructions, but lag.
That is
but with lag.
Like
the genre.
Like honestly, I think that is such a brilliant idea. Like the idea of the command ship closing in, so that the as the game progresses, the kinds of commands that you're giving are naturally going to change because you know they're going to have a quicker impact. And the idea that you're starting out with these automated, you have kind of like lots of automated drones and things. You're going to be starting. It's almost flipping on its head how you would progress in lots of kind of not necessarily RTS games, but survival or building games where you start off. Like you start off kind of manipulating things very directly yourself, and then by the end of the game, you've automated everything. You're starting off with the real big macro stuff here, and like the big scale thinking, and then as you move in and get closer to the end game, you're able to manipulate individual kind of squads or an individual unit or something. Like I think that is, like I even just love the idea that as your command ship is getting closer and closer to the planet, you're going to see firsthand the results of your actions at the beginning of the game and see how much you've fucked it up or how different it is to what you expected. I just feel like there's so much that this could be. It's just like,
I think these games benefit from being able to almost specialize in particular directions, right? Like you can't, I don't think in these games you can necessarily just build the biggest version of everything. There's always going to be one person who's specializing in mining tons of resources or a particular type of resource and is then able to build particular type of units. And then there's other people that are benefiting in power generation and that benefits them in other ways. Maybe there are things you can build that improves your connection and allows you to operate on a smaller time, a smaller delay. And I feel like what's stopping anyone from just improving the delay and then just playing Command and Conquer? You
can't.
I think you need to not have that. I think no one should be able to improve the delay. Perhaps
it depends on the technology, but physically you can't.
Because faster than light data travel.
I mean, what is it? What fiber optics? Is this just we call up BT?
You just get a longer Ethernet.
I don't know why. Literally, fiber optics is literally not faster than light. I don't know why I said that because
you fire an Ethernet cable down to the surface of Mars. You
just some RJ45.
You buy a longer cable.
Duct tape it down.
Yeah.
I think what could be really interesting to play with though is interrupting the communication with like solar anomalies or something, or like a solar flare goes and it interrupts communication for a bit. But maybe you've got like a report of the weather, space weather or whatever, so you can plan ahead and be like, right, okay, I've got a plan for a communications blackout at 3 o'clock or something, so I need to stack a bunch of stuff up. Or
3 o'clock Mars time.
I mean, instead of
course,
well, you could have like solar activity is a big one because obviously that does interfere with signal, but you could also have one where you could maybe you wouldn't be able to do it often, but maybe you scramble their communication that it adds a random it adds a random move in, right, and just throws something off quickly.
Or deletes a command.
Yeah, or deletes a command.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That would completely,
you don't get to choose
space debris.
No, you don't choose. But like again, I feel like, is this fun? like I'm just thinking about this. You're basically playing an RTS with lag, waiting for the mothership to get closer to the surface of the planet before you then have zero lag, and then you're just playing a game, right? But in that duration of time, let's say it's 15, 20 minutes before you've got zero lag, is it not just frustrating? Right? Like,
I think that's and you're probably the best to answer this question or to figure it out, because I think you like play way more of these games than certainly than I do. But like my feeling is that it's trying to figure out what happens in that first like 20 minutes of gameplay or whatever. Yeah. When you're waiting for stuff to come back. Like, is there more to do on the ship, like in real time? Do you have actions in real time to perform to do with your own ship? Like just sorting that shit out or something.
Well, I think then if you get reports back, like you have a report of what the weather's going to be, you have to figure out 3 o'clock Mars time. What is it my time? And then you have to then work out.
I mean, the time difference isn't that.
Time
what
difference.
Isn't Sol? I can't remember how long a Sol is. It's like 24 and a half hours.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have to figure out like, well, I'm sending out commands 3 hours in advance.
Yeah, it's 24 hours, 39 minutes, 35 seconds.
So it's a game of it's a 4X game, but with an extra addition of working out what time zone you're in.
I could barely do that on Earth.
I know.
Have the clocks gone forward an hour? That's halfway through the match. Daylight savings kicks in, and you're just fucked.
Yeah. Because the mothership, which is sending the commands, is constantly closing the distance, the delay steadily decreases as the game progresses, meaning the player can take more and more direct control. If the original delay is maybe 10 to 15 seconds, after 5 minutes, it might be down to 3 to 5, at which point controlling it manually with WSD rather than pre-programmed commands becomes more preferable. If not still a whittle weird and laggy. Shut up. So yeah, the delay gets shorter and shorter. Ultimately, you take control of the mothership. Okay, as it enters the atmosphere and flies in over the battlefield. Now the game.
I will not allow. I hate no. I hate that in sci-fi where like a capital ship is in atmosphere. They shouldn't be allowed. It's why I don't like it in Star Wars where you see Star Destroyers in atmosphere. They should have to stay that's just pet peeve of mine.
They're built in space, right? They'd crumble in atmosphere, right?
They don't have the means to stay there.
Also, to clarify,
these have the means.
I've said mothership, but I'm still imagining once the ships enter the sky over the battle, they're still relatively maneuverable. Maybe not quite X-wings, but not huge lumbering things. It says in this email.
Well, I should let you finish your sentence.
Well, that came up later. I knew that came up later. So sorry.
Well, fuck you.
Ultimately, you take control of the mothership as it enters the atmosphere and flies in over the battlefield. Now the game kind of becomes War Thunder. I'm not entirely sure what to do with your rover at this point. Maybe if it's dead, that's when you get control of the mothership. Or maybe once the mothership reaches the battlefield, the game just gives you the option to switch the rover to AI control for the remainder of the battle. But so what's the?
I don't know about that.
I think this is.
It's getting overexcited.
Well, I'm not. I'm trying to figure out like.
This is feature creep.
What do you spend the first 20 minutes doing, and why are you doing it?
I like the idea. So go on. I'm getting excited.
No, please, James.
No, I want to hear you get. Yeah,
like this. I love the idea that you're trying to prepare your landing zone for your ship, right? And it's just a space race. Whoever's first into this area gets to colonize that part of the planet, right? That could be really fun. It doesn't have to be Mars. It could be some other crazy planet or another solar system. But the idea that you're having to prepare a landing zone. And maybe there's two right next to each other. So that's where the battle happens on the surface. You know, you're defending this or you're building it. And maybe it is just one rover or 10. I don't know. We haven't decided that. But then the ship's coming. The ship's going to land. And if the area isn't prepared, the ship just will crash and you'll lose.
They didn't build any toilets. Crash the ship.
Okay. Like, here's what I'm... like where my head is going at the moment. This might not make any sense, but imagine it's like Star Wars, or maybe not Star Wars, but like Star Trek or Mass Effect or something. Basically, you have this huge, like humans have colonized the galaxy, the universe, whatever. There's loads of other races, weird alien races of all different shapes and sizes and abilities, living in space. And you've moved, maybe it's like the new Andromeda, like you've moved to a new system because that one's overcrowded. And the idea is that it's like an oil rush. Andromeda 2. Like, yeah, it's like the gold rush, but with planets. Everyone's trying to claim their planet. Or it's like in The Expanse when they go through the ring, right? Mm. Everyone's trying to colonize these new planets. So the game is you versus maybe one other, but I think it should be multiple unknown races that begin at the other sides of the planet, far away. You're all moving towards this planet at the same time, maybe the same speed from the same distance. I don't know, whatever we need to kind of make it work. But it's almost like this fog of war in the sense, you know how like with 4X is like Civilization, you're taking your turns, and to begin with, you don't know who the other people are. Mm. You don't, and there's something quite exciting about suddenly meeting like a new civilization. Well, that only happens when you all reach the planets. That's how you know who else is there. And so in that time, maybe you have to be like sending commands to your forward base, your scout, to be able to begin like colonizing an area of it or something, or to claim a territory or something. Basically prepare for what is going to be the oncoming battle. And during that time, while you're heading towards it in space, like there has to be, this is what I can't figure out in my head, but there has to be something else going on, like whether there's like diplomacy or something else where you are that's more real time. But basically the idea of it just being like not a turn-based 4X, a real-time 4X, where you're all slowly creeping towards this planet, where everything is just going to end in like a huge bloodbath. Depending on the decisions you've made when you get there, and there's going to be one civilization who will be able to claim the planet at the end of it, or it gets destroyed, totally destroyed.
I guess what's kind of interesting is that you could end up with a battle on two fronts. Like, does everyone have their ship up in orbit, so they're all fighting to see who's going to be able to land first, and then you've got a battle on the surface for...
I think it should still be like not turn-based, but it shouldn't be like, I think the War Fund, like direct control in terms of like it's suddenly becoming like a flight shooter. I think it's just too much. Like it's just a different game. And I think you should have direct control over stuff. I think it should still just be like command-based.
Chris is looking around very confused. I think something's happened.
It sounded like a shipping horn outside my window.
Oh.
That's the ship about to land, I think.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know if that came through on the audio, but
Alex will add it in post.
yeah, thank you, Alex.
That's going in.
How'd it sound?
Like that.
There you go. Just do that, but a little bit
Do that
earlier.
again, yeah, and then
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
And when
Thank
people
you.
hear that for the first time, they're going to be so confused.
it's because there's a lag of about 3 to 4 seconds where they get that and then they get told the command.
See, now that confusion is what it's going to be like playing this game.
Yes.
I think the lag. It's an interesting idea, but it's a barrier that I can't cross for some reason. There is a block in my brain that just cannot progress beyond that to find the thing that's fun about it. You know what I mean? Let's say you are a rover on the planet and there are 6 other players doing exactly the same thing as you. You progress, you drive a little bit off to the west and you see another settlement building defenses, whatever else. They're going to see you at the same time. And you know that you have to send a command to shoot, but they've also 30 seconds prior seen you, so they've spent 30 seconds queuing up their commands to defend it. So, like, you're all just on the same time scale, but
Just
delayed.
with massive delay.
Yeah. And I'm sort of struggling to think why make the delay from the mothership be to Mars when it could just be an RTS that you're controlling with low latency, and you know in 30 minutes your mothership is going to arrive. And it just remove the lag thing, but then that's the entire premise of the game, right? Like,
I think,
the battle begins in earnest when the mothership arrives. Why not just make it an RTS that begins 30 minutes a little later?
I guess, is it? What if it was that the command, like the game isn't the core gameplay? It doesn't revolve around like you make like every command you're issuing is delayed. It's going to be delayed. It's just the commands that you are issuing to the planet have delay on them. And to begin with, those are small commands. They're kind of like build forward base here or something. But the meat of the game takes place in space, like while you're heading towards the planet. If there's stuff that's like more real time to do with you, like I don't know, maybe that's the more 4X side of it. But I think I guess what I really like about the initial pitch was that the idea that you can make a decision and then 20 minutes later see the effect of it once you've like reached the planet and be like, oh fuck, I can't believe I've done that. But I think that's kind of exciting. Like it could definitely be annoying as well. But I feel like there's something there for it to be like, and I think, you've played way more of these kind of games than me. So I think
I think the problem is that these games already inherently have a version of lag anyway, in that, if your entire army is at the wrong side of the base when you get attacked, it's going to take time for them to move to the other side. And that is the lag. Buildings take a while to construct. True,
instantly.
but buildings take a little while to construct. That's a little bit of lag. Like you can't just in these games immediately just bam. Okay, here's a turret to defend against this. It's like, well, I need to get my builders over there to begin with. Then take 30 seconds constructing the thing, which already takes resources, which takes some time to generate. Like lag exists in these games already, or at least pre-preparation exists in these games already. And I think just adding another level of you've got all of that, pre-prep that you have to do, but you also have to do it 30 seconds in advance. And then another 30 seconds for the feedback to actually get to you. It just becomes, I don't know, it becomes very convoluted. Unless maybe it's not that you are controlling a rover that you send commands to that has delay on it. So, you say, go over this direction. You don't see the effects of that. Maybe you are literally just firing out constructions from your mothership and it takes time for those to land. And you can also see just these lines of beads from all the other ships that are flying into the planet as well. And like, if you see one ship just firing shitloads of stuff, Like, you can maybe just look around left and right and it's like, yep, there's that other player. He's firing out a fucking ton of stuff in this direction. I can start to be worried about this guy. Maybe that's the lag, right? The time it takes for you to actually place these things on the planet because you're firing them out from your mothership. Yeah.
Maybe the different commands have different colors, like the traces have different colors depending on what kind of things they are.
They're firing out a load of red. I know the red's tanks.
That's bad.
Yeah.
I feel like I might come at this a bit negative because I'm like, I actually preferred it when it was simpler, when it was literally just
was it simpler?
When it was rover controls on lag with
two little dinky rovers on the surface, and
we did balloon it.
And well, I think that was
before it became
evolved.
an RTS.
Yeah. There's something really cool about the idea that it was like a submarine battle taking place on the surface of Mars.
Okay.
I like that.
So just an FPS, but technically tank control FPS, but with lag.
Kind of, yeah. But with extra things. Like the audio and the photos coming in all blurry and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. I think there could be something fun there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have different abilities and skills for all of your vehicles, or just the one vehicle you're controlling. It's like, I want to scramble this communication. Yeah, if it was just one, you've got loads of different abilities like scrambling communications, so this picture that they take doesn't get sent out, or maybe, I don't know, you cloak yourself from that picture or whatever, or you can increase the delay that the other person has for a period of time.
Simultaneous actions, but they only have a limited battery capacity and they have to charge. Even if it's sunny, they're still only charging a certain amount. So you could do things simultaneously and be like, okay, but if I do that, I then have to like do a few charge commands, which will take me longer. Oh, it's now is it night and I can't charge? So I am stuck here until the day. Obviously it's sped up. It's not real time. But am I now stuck here?
Yeah.
Obviously that's that one-on-one manhunt idea. But the other idea where it was the RTS, I think the way you're saying, Tom, where I think what we should be able to do is you do shoot down these like the buildings essentially, and they either self-build or you can shoot down robotic workers as well. But I think you should have to choose your drop zone for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you should also be able to get flyby satellite imagery. So it's all fog of war. You don't know where you're going, but you can maybe get a snapshot of, oh, what's that? And I've taken a snapshot, and in the top right, I can see the start of a building. That's not mine. So I know roughly that someone's there. And then you can either do it on a large field or you could do it planetary wide because they do orbit. So you have to time when you want to take your shots, or so you could either set in, okay, I'm going to set a shot to be taken in 10 minutes.
True. Yeah. I'm just wary of like spending 30 seconds on something that 30 seconds ago until you realize it is redundant, like wasting a ton of resources without knowing that your stuff has already been destroyed a long time ago.
The way I'm imagining it is everyone's building their stuff up. You're producing vehicles and weaponry, and then no one knows what each other has until you get there, because then it turns into the real-time RTS, which is all based off what you've already built. Right. So it's that the first lag bit, the first X minutes of the game is a pure asynchronous setup part of the battle. And then the last bit is a full real-time RTS based on what you've previously done during that setup phase.
Okay.
That's my interpretation.
We've run out of time to talk about it anymore, but I feel like we kind of have a couple of different distinct ideas. I don't know, Tom, can you give us a rundown?
Yeah, I mean, there's two versions. One which is, again, very, very similar to Braden's original idea. I will say that there is more in this pitch that we didn't get to read. Basically, just clarifying some different things, having different equipment on your rovers, and how the mothership works when they actually arrive and stuff like that. So sorry we didn't get to read the entire thing, Braden. But yeah, version 1, I believe, is like the RTS style, placing buildings and vehicles and armies and military and whatever else onto the planet at the same time as other people, but delayed. So you have to plan ahead a lot more. You have to prepare for other people. And if you see what other people are doing at any point, you need to, I guess, try and gauge what they're working towards or have worked towards in the last 30 seconds since you got an image or whatever else.
Mind games.
All while you are slowly moving towards Mars and decreasing that delay until you have a full-on, vicious, bloody war to take over the planet and claim it as your own. Or destroy it, which we never actually went over, Alex, destroying the planet as well.
I just thought that'd be funny.
Yeah, that'd be, yeah. It's just the lives of millions, but billions probably. And then version 2 is I'm imagining, do you remember, I think it was a Mario Party mini game where you're controlling tanks and you're just driving around corners and stuff and you have to try and shoot the balloons off them or whatever it was.
Yes.
It was that, but with lag. But you have certain abilities to either decrease your lag or increase their lag, or I think there's a lot of fun ways you can mess around with that sort of communication idea. Like you were saying, like deleting commands from someone else's queue could be a fun way of just really fucking someone over. Like they're stuck in a corner and the one command you remove is their reverse and they're just still like turning into the corner and firing blind. Like that could be quite fun. I say it could be quite fun. I think it's one of those games where it's like you are just pointing and laughing at the person you're humiliating. It's not necessarily fun for the person on the receiving end. Yeah, it's one of those bullying games. And I think there's definitely a place for those. They exist. And maybe it could be fun, just not as a party or a family thing, because someone will get punched. Like Monopoly. It's a Monopoly game. It's there Monopoly to stir hatred and build rivalries. I think this could be the most toxic game we've ever come up with.
I really
Wars
think
have been started over this.
There is something to the whole, like, the delay thing, it's a mechanic that I don't think has been, like, fair enough, you could say, like, it hasn't been explored for good reason, but I feel like it just hasn't been cracked yet. And the idea, there was something about it.
That's how I'm feeling about it. Like I was saying, I just can't get beyond the initial thought of how. I'm just not smart enough. I think it's the problem.
Look, if you listening are smart enough, or you're not smart enough, but you just think you are, and you think you're smarter than us, do you?
Oh,
well,
are you smarter than a 10-year-old? That's a weird reference.
And you can tell us your reading age, but contacting us, and you can do that by contacting us through.
Yeah, every time you send a pitch in, you also have to send in your IQ and your reading age, so that we can know from the top. It's like the subject title should be the name of the game and your IQ, and then we can immediately say, right, we're dismissing this one.
What your favourite Mr. Men book
is. If it's exceptionally low, it might be quite a good one. It might be interesting.
That's true. So if you have a middling to average IQ, you're most likely not going to get read. If you are unbelievably low or incredibly high, then we're going to read it. So
I love it.
No average IQs.
Where can these low IQ doofuses contact us, Tom?
Or big-brained boffins. Boffins. Jesus Christ. Well, you can send it to us at which is Pitch Please Pod on Twitter with
how
any
they'll spell it anyway, Tom.
Yeah, that's true. Just spell Pitch Please Pod on Twitter and you'll probably find it. Or you can send it to us at our email, pitchpleasepod@yogscast.com. You fucking idiot. Or
that's right.
You actual genius.
You actual bloody genius.
You fucking
just a very average person.
Despite the fact that we always end this podcast recently making fun of you. We really do appreciate.
Thank you,
we really do
Braden.
appreciate.
Yeah, you're currently saving
everyone
it. So,
sending
I
in.
mean, you know.
Yeah, you are the reason this still happens.
Yeah, and not just because you're
Bastards.
listening, but because you're also giving us the content.
Yeah.
So really, you guys are doing all the work. So thank you. Please, if you want to send in more emails, more tweets, and more voice messages, we love those. Especially, we love those.
Especially, yeah.
I'd love to hear a super low IQ voice message.
Oh no!
Oh, you've opened the floodgates there.
We got a message from Lenny.
Sound of mice and men reference.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Okay, where soft bunny you touch? Uh-oh, killed it.
Well, on that note, Alex.
All right.
That's
Thank
Lenny.
you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you
Remember,
next
killed
time. Bye.
Bye.
Damn it!
Spoilers. Spoilers for the mice and men. When did that come out?